Sorry about that, guys. Okay, nice. And there's your QR codes for the forms. And I'll put that up again after class so you guys can scan it. All right, so first lecture we went over Swift basics. And so today we'll go over UIKit, which is a library we use to actually code views and stuff that we're actually going to present in our app. And AutoLayout, which is a way to manage how those views are laid out. It's in the name. Yep. All right. So just a quick recap of lecture 1. So we went over vars and consts. Var, which stands for variable. It's a keyword used to initialize a variable that you can change later on, but constant. It's constant throughout runtime, so you can't change it. Type assignment, arithmetic operators, and such and such. And then I highly suggest that if you weren't here for the first lecture, please look at the lecture video. Right. So a little quiz for those who saw lecture 1 content. What keyword should we use for X, and which one for Y? Anyone brave enough? Exactly. Since X is actually reassigned here, we want to make it a variable. And since Y is only assigned once, and we don't never change it, we keep it const. And for guard, here we have a function called checkValue, right? And we see this variable b, which is 6, and then this fancy little guard line, which says guard b equals 6, else it runs this code. So what this basically means is if the condition b equals 6 is true, then we run this and everything after that. Otherwise, it gets caught here. So let's say b was 7, then it would go into this block of code, it would run that, and then it would return out of the function. All right, and then for optionals, this is going to be a pretty important concept you'll learn, and arguably a most important thing you'll need as an app developer. Here we see var name has type string. What? Question mark. I'm blanking today, sorry. What that basically means is this is a type string, or it can contain a string, or it can contain nil, which is basically like null if you have taken another CS course, or it just means nothing. And then here we have one way of unwrapping if let. So if let unwrap name equals name, we're basically assigning the variable name to unwrap name. If name isn't nil, then we go into this first block of code, and then we can use that variable. But let's say name is nil, then we run the block of code in else, and then it'll print out name is nil instead. Force unwrapping is generally you never want to do. This is a bad way of unwrapping optionals. Basically what it does is it force unwraps it. So if there is a value, it'll unpack it. But if it's nil, it'll actually crash your code. So you almost never want to use it unless certain conditions are met. And then finally, guard let. You kind of saw what guard does here. But instead of like a condition, we're going to use the same thing we use for an if let unwrap. And it works the same way, except if it's nil, then it won't run anything else after that.
The program just crashes.
Mm-hmm. So now we'll move on to lecture 2 content. So I'll give you a brief overview of the second assignment. You're going to need knowledge from this lecture and the next lecture to complete this assignment. So you're going to implement a basic profile and edit profile page. So 2 pages in total. You're going to use basic views provided by UIKit. which you'll learn about today, like UI label and UI text field. And you're going to be able to navigate between multiple screens and also communicate across the screens. So very, very exciting things. But before that, we'll go over some important concepts, one of them being classes. And so what is a class? So like any other language you may be familiar with, classes are essentially custom types that encapsulate data. So in Swift, there are also flexible constructs that are the building blocks of UIKit in iOS development. So you can think of classes like blueprints for an object. You define certain things. So like you define properties and functions, which we'll call methods, that determine its behavior and state. So let's see. So you must initialize all stored properties, and through that you have to create an init function, and this goes for every class that you make. And UIKit uses classes to create views. So we'll demo that in a second. So you'll see here, let's say we have a class called student. So the properties would be name, major, and age. Oh yeah, and as you can see on the bottom, those are your properties inside that class. Name will obviously be a string. Major is also a string. But age will be an int since it's a number, and I don't think you'll use decimals for ages. So. And then you see these are multiple instances of classes. So you can have one student object named Vin, major info Sci, another one Richie, our previous course instructor, and also Ant, who's our team lead. So yeah, I'll go into demoing how to create a class. But before we do that, I'll quickly show you how to use GitHub. So if you have Git and GitHub set up, you can follow along. If not, you can just open a blank project. So here we're going to open terminal, and then you're going to be met with this line. You want to cd, which is change directory, into like a folder of your choice. So for me, I want to go into documents, and then I want to create a new folder, nkdir, called demo2. And then I'm going to cd into it, change directories. And then in here, if you go to our lecture page, you're going to see here a section called clone the repository. So here you either want to run this or the bottom. I'll run the one on top. This is just the link to the actual GitHub here. Okay, boom. So you're going to see cloning. You're going to clone it into your current directory, which is demo2. And then you're going to see it right here. Right. So this is what you just cloned. So you open this up, and then you want to open this. All right. But I conveniently have it already open here. And then so what you're going to be met with is this project with app delegate, scene delegate. You don't have to worry too much about that right now. What you want to open up is view controller, but actually that's for a different demo. So let me create a new class or new file. So make it classes demo. So here, right. So to define a class, you first have to use the class keyword, and then after that, you want to put in your class name, and the convention for that is camel case. So here we want to make student, so you want to capitalize student, and then you want to use these curly braces, and then everything that's associated with the class, you're going to write inside here. So first, as we said, we want to define properties. And what we do is exactly like how the lecture had it. right here, exactly like that. So what we want to do is var name, and then give it the type. Remember, Swift is statically typed. Oops, you don't need a comma there. So we have name, and we have major as well. And could someone tell me how we would make age? All right. Mm-hmm. Int. Yes, perfect. Right. And then you're going to see here, there's an error where it says class student has no initializers. So we have these stored properties, name, major, and age, but we don't have any initializer function, so that when we want to make an instance of this class, it should call that and then create, an instance. So here goes our initializer, and then it's very simple. You do init, and then if you see Swift conveniently has it auto-completed. Boom. If you press enter, it'll auto-complete that. And then what you want to focus on here is the name, major, and age here are actually inputs. So they're different from the stored properties here. So if we do let's create an instance right now. So let j equal, and then here what we do is write down student, and you're going to see underneath here this I is an instance. So if you enter here, it'll auto-complete it for you. And these are the things you want to define. So name is obviously j, major is yes, and then age 67. We're about 67, right? And then if you want to access these stored properties, what you do is write down j, right, the variable name, and then use dot, and then you're going to see these three stored properties. And so if you do dot age, you're going to have access to age, which is going to be 67. So that's it for classes. And now so now we're going to go into subclasses. So what is a subclass? It's a class that inherits all properties and functions from a superclass, which you can kind of see as a parent. And this will be all clear with another demo. And then here you must remember to initialize all stored properties. So that includes all stored properties that are defined in your superclass as well. And then so we'll go into this. So let's say we want to make another class, but we want to be specific and say engineering student. Then what we can do is have a colon here, and then use student here. So put student here, and then we do this. And then so here it inherits all properties and functions from, can anyone take a guess from where? Exactly, from student. So, and then under here, you can define more properties if you want. So here we can have another variable called the shower. That could be a Boolean. And then likewise, we're going to have an error here, no initializer. So we make an initializer here. Well, what you're going to notice is it's missing something right here. So we're missing super.init. So what that basically means is super is your superclass, which is student. And then for that, you call the init function. So what this is calling is this right here. remember it needs name, major, and age. So what you want to do is have a name input here, a major input here, and an age input here. And you can notice you can name this different, and then all you have to do is just make sure it matches, but the convention is to actually match the names. So here, major, name, and then you're gonna notice that, sorry, this should go before. I think there should be no more errors. Yep, perfect. So you call superinit after you define all the additional properties you defined here. So let's say I'll humiliate myself this time. So here, engineering students, you do the same thing, right? But here we have this additional property, the shower. So here, I can put my name, CS 22, and then false. So now, again, if you want to access store property, you can do dot and then type the name right there. That's how you access that. Another thing to note is Jay will not have the property the shower since he is a class student, and he does not have this property defined since it's only for engineering students. All right, perfect.
Does anyone, oh, you have a question?
Would it be possible for you to turn off the light at the top?
Oh yeah, let me see. I can do that.
Okay, while he does that,
This is it? No.
no, just that one.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how to turn that off. Is it?
Oh.
It's over there. All right, while he does that, move on to UIKit.
Oh, is this better, or do you want to side off?
That's weird.
Okay.
So, what is UIKit? It provides a library of classes, as I said before. Wait, is it back on?
No.
What? So, sorry, library of classes that represent different kinds of views. So, UI label is a class, and guess what? You can make a label using that. And if you want a button, you can use UI button, and there's a lot more you can use. Pretty flexible. And to modify these views, we would need to modify its properties. The reason why is because properties will determine its behaviors and states, and these are like predefined properties that you can populate to make them custom.
Wait, I can go over this.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Now I'll pass it off to Jay.
All right. So UI view controllers, this is what we will be using, and this control your UI page for a given page. We're not gonna use the UI view controller itself. We'll be making a subclass of it, and then typically in a subclass of the UI view controller that you use to control the page, you will create helper functions for each component you want to add. So for example, if you want to make a name label, then we will make a sub function, helper function, to control the name, how it looks like, and stuff like that. Okay, I'm gonna hop on to the demo. All right. What folder is it?
Sorry, it's already here, so you
Oh.
can do it from here.
Okay. Before I start, I want to show you guys if you guys want to follow along, you guys can type
Wait, I already showed them.
the link.
Yeah, I already showed them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh wait, not that one, not that one. Just go there. Wait, how do you open yours? Yeah, so just do the demo.
All right. Okay. Let me know if I need to slow down or anything. All right. So this is where our properties sit. So let's make note for it. This is good practice for documentation, so you know where things are at, and the people who are looking at your code know what this is. So step one, we're gonna create the properties for our view. So private let name label camel case equals to UI label. All right. And then step 2, we want to set up the view. Just let me make this bigger.
Yeah.
All right. Step 2. So this is the helper function I was talking about. Private func setup name label. And then step 3, you want to configure the properties for the view. And name label dot text equals to ASIN. And then we want to set a font for this name label. So name label dot font equals to, let's make it bold. To make bold, we have to system font dot bold. Wait, does this work? Or
That should work.
okay. And then
You can just do top bold.
oh, we don't need the system actually. Alright, actually, I don't think that works. Okay, let's set the size dot system font of size, and then let's use 24. And then we want to set a color for the text. We just do dot text color, and then let's use black. Okay.
Yeah, and you see this name label is a class. You can see text is one property, font is another property, and so this is what Jay was talking about changing the property to define how it behaves and how it looks.
And UI color is a class that come with the UIKit. UIKit has essentially almost everything that you need to set up a UI page. So it comes with the UIKit and it has like a bunch of colors that's like predefined, and you guys can just use it. Okay, let's move on to the next step. We're gonna add the view as a subview and enable AutoLayout. So you want to add the subview and add the name label into subview. Yeah, I'll do that later. And then okay, so this thing, bear with me guys. So this thing translate auto resizing mask into constraints. It's a syntax that you just need to have in UIKit. Why exactly, I can't give you an answer, just documentations you can look up. But for UIKit, you always want to have this.
And this enables the auto layout, which we're gonna do right now.
Okay, and then now we want to set up the constraints. Step 5, set up constraints. NS layout constraints that activate. And then we want to set up a list of constraints. Name label dot top anchor dot constraint. Okay, we don't want to use the full thing.
Yeah, just constraint.
And then equal to view dot save area layout guide dot top anchor. And then comma name label dot center x anchor dot constraint equal to view dot center anchor. So what this essentially does is like this tells you where to place the name label in the view. So this one tells you to set the name label at the center of the screen, and then this one tells you to set to set the top of the view label a little bit off the save area on your on your phone. You have like that area where the camera is at. That's included in save area. We don't want our name to be in that area because nobody can see it. Okay, now next
Just
step.
run it. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Now next step we have to call this function setup name label, and now we should be able to run it. I'm gonna leave this out for now and see. Okay.
I think the background's clear by default.
Yeah.
No, it's black. So, you
Okay.
see,
So,
yeah.
so right now, can anyone tell me what's the issue?
It's a very subtle issue. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So the default color of the background is black, and we also set the name to be black. So that's why we can't see anything. The screen is just dark. Okay. All right. So let's change the background. View.background color equals to UI color dot white. Okay. Now we run it.
Just
Oh, I have to close. Okay.
yeah, perfect.
Okay, so you see the name. The name is right here because we set up the top anchor to avoid the save area, which is here, and then we have centered our name with the X anchor, which is so X anchor. Think of it like as horizontal, and later on you'll see like Y anchor, which is like vertical. So if we center it to Y anchor, the name will be in the center here instead. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to our final demo. Oh yeah, and before we do that, quickly explain like what AutoLayout is, since we kind of just used it and didn't explain it. So what is AutoLayout? It's a constraint-based organization system, and allows for adaptive UI, which adapts to screens of different sizes and orientation. Since every time Apple makes a new phone, they make it bigger, with different dimensions. So uses a relational layout structure. So the layout of one thing relates to the other, and it does that to organize views with respect to one another. So it's less error prone, and we'll be mainly using NS layout in this course, but we're going to introduce another library that makes it slightly simpler. So here we can see this is the top anchor that we were talking about, right? And then one thing that we use that is not here is the center X, which is going to be exactly the center of the X. Left, right anchor, bottom anchor. We also have height and width, which is going to be important later. So component procedure. So we want to create the view property, right? The UI label property. Set up the view in a helper function. So each view will have a helper function to organize things, make it more readable. Configure the view's properties inside the helper function, and then add the view as a subview and enable auto layout in that same helper function, and set up constraints in that same helper function, and then call the setup function in view did load. And just a briefly touching on view did load. It's a lifecycle function that calls whenever the view does load, as the name suggests. But there's also another one called view did appear, which is exactly what it sounds like. When it appears, then this function is called, and then you can define whatever you want inside there. So loading is like basically before it appears. So now we're gonna go into positioning views. Okay. Can you check out to that? All right. So, oops. Yeah. So right now we just have my name, but that looks a little boring. Let's see. I wanted to add a picture in there. What I can do is I can add another view property here. So private let, and let's do profile image view. And what this is going to be is a UI image view, which is another class, right? But we just want to initialize it and touch on its properties later. And then here, step 2, set up the view. But we don't want to do it in this function. We want to do it in a separate function. So here, oops, private func, set up, and the convention is to use this, use the variable name. So you can have set up profile image view, or you can just name it profile image. Anything that's, anything that's descriptive works. So here, and then remember step 3 is to configure the view's properties. Boom, boom. And then with image view, there's one major property that you want to change is the image you're going to display, right? So image equals, and then here you make a UI image, and then you're going to see there's multiple different ways. What we're going to focus on is named, and then you're going to give it a string. But that might be a little confusing. Why are we giving it a string? It's because we have this convenient file called assets, and then in here, namely, you can put in your assets that you want to use. So you know what? Let me get a random image. Let's try to. What image do you guys want to see? I can type anything in. How about just the iOS app or Swift logo? I should have prepared an image before. I apologize for that. So say we want to save image, put it in our downloads, boom. And all we do is drag it in here. You see, we have Swift. And let's rename this. I just left click, press enter,
30.
and Swift. Swift logo. So I'll copy that, and then I'll put in the name right there. We're not done just yet. So remember step 4, add the view as a subview. And this view is just going to be your main view that is controlled by the UI view controller. So you add profile image view, and then you do profile image view, blah, yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, NSLayout constraint. And you're going to see, dot activate. Make sure you do dot activate. Your constraints is going to be a list of NSLayout constraint stuff. So here, what we want to do is this dot top anchor. But what do we want to set the top anchor as? So equal to, and can anyone take a guess what we want to put in here? If, let's say, we want to put it right under my name. Any guesses? All right, I'll give you a hint. It's somewhere here. You're going to see name label dot. Since we want it at the bottom, we're going to do bottom anchor. Boom. Oh, and I forgot a very minor error. Make sure you don't forget this. You're making a function. Okay, so we set it right underneath, and then I'll do profile image view dot center x again equal to the view center x. Boom. And so, oops, yeah. Since it's a list, you have to have a comma right there. And then if you run this, you see there's something going on. It's not showing our image. And this is a very simple fix, right? When you're displaying an image, you have to make sure to define the size. Since right now all it have is that the top anchor is equal to the bottom anchor of name label and the X position, but given that it doesn't know what size to apply, right? So what we want to do here is do this dot. So there's another thing called height anchor, remember? And then you see equal to constant. And you can give it a float, which is basically a decimal number. For here, I'll just do 256. And then again, you can copy this over and then just change this height anchor to a width anchor. And then once we run it, oh,
Extra comma on it.
sorry, very, very simple mistake on my end. So we have everything here, but we actually did not call it over here. Sorry guys. So that's why it wasn't showing. So let's just confirm. If we don't set the size, you can't see it. I guess, sorry, correction. It's using like the inherent size, which is way too big. So you see like the file itself has a resolution, it's using that size. But if we wanted to actually constrain it, then it should make it smaller. Perfect. So you see we kind of shrunk it. And then if we do divide by 2, surprise, surprise, it's going to be half the size. And so, yeah, that was it for our second demo. Boom. Positioning views. And then, so next time, we're going to learn about how to push and pop screens. And so what that basically means is when we're navigating through like an app, it's kind of like navigating folders. You like go deeper into like certain screens, and then you can go back. And so we're going to learn how exactly that works. And so now we'll do Kahoot to go over. Attendance. It's okay, we don't need the audio. I'll just mute it. Alright, so, sorry, please join with your net ID. Forgot to mention that. And we'll start as soon as we're ready. All right, 10 minutes left.
It's good timing. It's kind of boring without,
All right, is everyone ready? I need more time. Nope, there's a couple more people. I guess I'll get started. Oh, one more. Anyone else? All right, perfect. So I'll start it. Boom. It's been a while since I've seen Kahoot. So when should you have the partner preference form submitted by? Perfect. So yeah, you want to have it by tonight, but give you some leniency, and if you can get it by at the latest tomorrow, that'd be great. Alright, next one. So when is A1 due?
Ooh.
Oh, almost everyone got it. So yeah, it is due Wednesday night. Please try your best to submit it on time. But if you need an extension, or whenever you need an extension, please email the course Gmail. All right, this is more technical. It's good that most of you got it. So you in fact do need to initialize all stored properties in a class. Otherwise you will get an error. All right, perfect. All right, last two. So what we'll be using to constrain views in this course?
We'll teach SnapKit.
So yeah, this is a kind of a trick question. So we'll mostly be using NSLayout, but we will teach you another library called SnapKit, which will make it basically it's just prettified NSLayout. Yeah. And then on to the final question. Oh, UI got dethroned. Alright, this one's an easy one, guys. Alright, perfect. Oh, this is not ideal, but you can get help after the lecture ends. So just more housekeeping. Oh, we'll go through the podium first. Unfortunately, there is no prize. But you'll be starred in the lecture video. So congratulations, SA2454. Alright, so some housekeeping. A2 will be released by next lecture, which is Wednesday. It's going to be due the next week. Please complete the partner matching form by 11:59 tonight if you're like a partner for A2. And make sure to fill out the mentorship form. And right there. So these are the QR codes. If you haven't scanned it when you came in, please do, and then fill them out. And also, please on Student Center, this is very important, guys. Please on Student Center, change the course to 1 or 2 credits, so 2 credits at most, and to pass-fail, if you have it as graded and or 3 credits, that's going to cause some issues. So, yeah.
But also, if you guys still have like trouble with CMX or GitHub, like you guys can stay after class and we'll help you.
Yeah, and that's it for today, and I'll see you Wednesday.